What's going on, everybody? I was checking my texts as we did the intro. Usually I time it at a certain part of the song, and for the first time...
What kind of text you got on there?
I haven't been checking my phone. And I just
He is not answering.
The text?
Is it from a lady?
This
friend?
particular person is a lady.
Mm.
It's neither here nor there. Anyways, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Monday. We have an exciting show for you. I'm joined by my friend and talented writer, LA Times reporter Amy Kaufman.
Woo!
Author.
Thanks for having me.
And amongst others, Twitter
snarker.
and Twitter snarker and Bachelor critiquer. Is that?
But I love The Batch.
No, I know you do.
Yeah.
Anyways, you're going to join us and help us answer some fan dating questions. Amy, I thought would be great, not only for her intelligence and work at LA Times, but you are out there dating like the rest of us. And
I'm on the streets.
You are also vocal on Twitter about some of your own dating challenges.
Oh, you've observed.
Yeah, I follow you.
That's true.
And so, yeah, it's always nice to have someone who's in the weeds and at the front line like the rest of us are.
Have you found that, like, whenever I share a bad dating story, and there are a lot, I never get more response. That's always like what people relate to. Like, they just...
Oh, people love it.
Yeah,
Well,
love it.
Well, I mean, I've said this before, like dating is hard. It's by definition, the hard part about dating is that it's meant to be hard. You know, our concepts of love, and we kind of talk about this in the episode today, is that love is meant to be special.
Right.
And most things that are special aren't easy. And because if they were easy, everyone would have them, so to speak. But it's kind of like this weird contradiction because we want everyone's deserving of love, et cetera, et cetera. But we have this in our head that we have these standards and expectations. And you know what? Standards and expectations are good to have, but it's tricky. I mean,
Nick and I have gotten in a few battles about this because there are certain things that I think should be standards that he thinks are too harsh.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone on dates with people. Like, people always say, like, oh, I have high standards. I mean, I say that too. We all say that. But, like, sometimes it's like, you know what? Your standards can shove it. Like, whatever.
What are your standards?
I think this is going to sound so bad. I think the specific one was about a friend of ours we were talking to who was considering dating a bartender.
And you said no?
And I advised against it.
And I was like... Well, you can't go on a date with a bartender?
She can go on a date, but, like, is that her husband?
I don't know, but, like...
That sounds so bad. Here, I'm just saying, like, if you... Like, this woman in particular was looking for someone who had, like, you know, had a career they were passionate about and weren't just filling time with, and maybe had gone to college for that passion or whatever, and, like... I do think that's kind of indicative of someone's personality.
I mean, I'm a big believer that the reason why stereotypes exist is because they're often can be true.
Yeah.
But that's it's dangerous to make our decisions in life thinking stereotypes are an absolute truth and there's no exceptions to these rules.
Like, all my friends in LA are bartenders, but they're like working towards their dreams, you know, and they're like hustling.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just not for me personally, but
Okay.
Bill Gates was a college dropout. You know, it's just like when we start doing those things, and when people talk about standards, like, well, I have certain standards and expectations. It's like, well, great, but like the difference between you going on a date with this bartender guy and not is like you're just gonna sit home and watch like. Or you're going to spend 20 minutes finding something to watch you've already seen on Netflix. So
yes, but if you're going on a lot of dates, at a certain point, you're like,
you can burn out.
Yes,
totally.
And it's
like
a
balance. You come and go. But I just think sometimes we need to. There's a difference between I have high standards and, as we talk about in this episode, like having expectations of things that you want in a relationship from your partner.
Right. I mean, I get that can seem sort of artificial or superficial, but I would be lying, and I think a lot of women would be, if they said they didn't judge, like,
book by its cover.
Yeah, or like, of course, I think, men judge only looks. That's what they're looking for. I'm artificial in other ways. Like, this week, I've been talking to this guy who is in the cannabis business.
Okay. Interesting.
And I'm like...
Raises potential red flag.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean he's not really interesting.
I'm still talking to him, but in the back of my head, I'm like, is he always stoned? Is this like some sort of shady industry? Like,
Those are both totally fair questions, and there's a better than 50 chance the answer to both those questions is yes. But there's also...
But you're an advocate for always figuring it out. Trying it out.
If you have an interest in someone and there's other things that you are attracted to, like as long as you're aware and you're asking the right questions up front, as we talk about again in this relationship, what's wrong with like vetting it out? Because if we start, I also like nothing bothers me more. It's like, I'm just too busy to waste my time doing
I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying you are saying that, but people say that. Oh, you're so busy. Like I'm really busy. I'm doing a lot of things.
Guys, niggas so busy.
But I also have a lot of fucking free time. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm really busy, but like most of my Wednesday nights, pretty free, honestly. So like, am I so busy that I can't like go grab a drink with someone I'm curious about, but I don't have all the answers to? No, I'm not that busy. My time's too valuable to go out with someone who like I just don't think is perfect for me.
I'm not even going to call you on the things that your standards are.
Such as?
I really want to hear what you're about to say.
Can they cut something out if you don't want it in there?
Yeah, this is my show. Yeah. But you're going to say like looks?
No, I'm going to say the fact that you think you should be dating someone who is in the public eye.
I never have said that.
No, he doesn't. I'll say that.
Okay.
But what is making you say this?
You think dating oh my God!
I've said to you, and I've said this on the show, that when I do date someone in the public eye, there's a level of safety that I feel from that person.
Right.
That's one upside of that situation. There are downsides to it too.
You have expressed that you feel like it is unlikely that you're going to find your partner if they're just like an average Joe.
I didn't say that. No, I said...
I have the receipts.
Oh. I've never heard him say that.
I have said that like when it comes to dating someone who doesn't have any experience, and that could be... it could be literally a stylist, like a hairdresser or someone who works in production, someone who just like is involved. Like you are in the public eye to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? Like you work in the LA Times and you interview like the biggest celebrities in the world, and you've been to like all the Oscar. I've never been to the Oscar. You know what I'm saying? You have a level of insight to that world in which you can relate. And relatability is paramount in every relationship. And that's all I'm simply saying. So if I were to say meet someone who can't relate to my very unique experiences, it presents challenges.
What kind of challenges?
Like having to explain myself and have that person never really understanding.
Yeah, but what if they have this is, I think, the road we went down. Like, what if they were a doctor or in some industry that you... knew nothing about.
Again, I go out with doctors and teachers and nurses and people who have I go out with those types of people more often than I go out with quote celebrities.
I'm not talking about celebrities. I'm talking about
public.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the amount of if I go on 10 dates, I'm gonna guess like 8 of them were with people who are not in the public eye.
Okay, so what's your dating life right now?
Active.
It's active. Do you use apps would you only use Raya or would you use normal apps?
I would definitely not use normal apps. But for
me, I
I
think that's how the conversation starts.
For me specifically, not only am I like someone who has been in the public eye, but I'm specifically in the public eye because of dating.
But I've seen people from The Bachelor on like apps.
Good for them. They've probably got paid to be on it.
So what, you think it would make you look thirsty?
It has a level of protect. You can, like the Raya one we've talked about. You can't. They protect, like privacy is big to them.
Yeah.
Other apps, it's not as important. You can screenshot away. You can like. It's pretty easy to like. I'm out on all the dating apps. It just as like Chris 24 from like Utah. They've stole my picture and, it's a catfish situation. Like there's a lot of apps who aren't policing that. And what I'm saying is there's a level of privacy they don't offer. You can't do that on other apps where like they, to get in, you
just don't want your profile being blasted online.
Yeah. I also don't want to like give anyone access to me. I mean, normal people say that. Like, I don't, you know.
What do you mean you don't want to give? Anyone can slide in your DMs.
Sure, and I have the option to like let them know if I read it.
Just the same on an app.
It's not the same.
Do you disagree, Rochelle?
About if he should be on regular dating apps?
Or that like that is giving the world access to him?
I just know he's a little bit like he gets like
Paranoid?
Anxious and paranoid.
Yeah.
You know,
I just don't. I'm not saying I'm
that's
right or
just
wrong.
his nature.
I just don't feel safe doing it.
I don't think he. I think he would. I just don't think he would. He's, you know.
And also, I'm like, I don't think I'm crazy. Like, there's a lot of like.
Yeah, I don't.
I have
think
to
you're crazy
explain
either.
myself a lot to a lot. Like, if I go on a date with someone who has no insight to my unique experiences of the past 5 years, there's a lot of time explaining it.
And you don't like that.
It has nothing to do with that, but I never feel like they totally relate. They try to relate. And there's a difference between trying to relate and actually relating. And it's not easy to do. It takes a unique
I guess
person.
It's just interesting to me that it feels so essential to you to relate on that.
It's not even that, but I think relating in general is important. And what I did was unique. So you have to be someone who's had a similar, very unique experience that they might have a hard time explaining to someone else. You mentioned being a doctor. I don't know what it's like to say be a heart surgeon and have to deal with like telling death and that's so unique. And just someone's ability to say this is very hard to explain to people, and I have a hard time. I feel like people don't understand already. That's like a bonus for me because just that experience, be able to relate. Because most times, like most people have a hard time. A lot of people are just like, you know, it's just how it should be, and whatever. Everyone's the same, and that can be a challenge. That's all.
Okay, we have some different viewpoints on that. That's fine.
Yeah. Which is why Amy's with us.
Yeah, I like you calling him out. That's fun.
That's our friendship.
Yeah, I know.
Counterpoint. Like, listen, I mean, I'm always right with ethnic,
no,
but
you're
like not always right. And it's nice to have, I don't have all the answers, so I enjoy.
How did you, like, I was telling a friend that I was coming on this, and they're like, how did Nick become like a dating expert person?
I started giving my opinion, and people liked it. It's
on
that simple.
Instagram, right?
On Instagram, sure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good at having an opinion, and people like it. And like I'm not an expert.
Do you feel pressure to have your dating life be successful because you're giving advice on people's dating lives?
I know people will say like, oh, well, you have like actually quite opposite. The more experiences you have, and the more failures, the more you learn.
Right.
I would have a hard time listening to someone give dating advice if they're like, well, I've been in the most amazing relationship. I met him when I was 22, and like everything's kind of just perfect, and we don't really deal with challenges, and okay, I don't know what I can learn there. You know, hard for them again to relate. When I, as far as like when I give people advice on The Bachelor, I've played every role. I've been the villain. I've been the hero. I've been on Bachelor in Paradise. I've been the Bachelor. There's not anyone who's goes in that show. I've ended up with the winner. So I haven't been the winner, but I dated the winner for 8 months, and I've heard their challenges and points of views, and I've lived with them. And so like, there's not a person who goes on Bachelor Nation that I can't say, well, and I get that. And this is what you might experience. And here's some of my advice. And that only comes from like having done that and failed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And lived through it. So, that's why I like getting advice.
Well, you can't give the advice of someone who's married, like the
yeah,
right.
And I can say, well, this is what I think, and this is what I've learned from my parents. But and when I don't know, I'm like, go get professional help.
One thing Nick and I do agree on is Peter and the fact that he's getting so much shit.
Yeah, I think Peter's getting a tough beat.
But don't they always?
Always.
Yeah, but like, I'm so surprised by this because he's not a bad person.
Right.
That's what Amy and I have talked about this. Whatever you think of Peter as the Bachelor, he has proven that what he is a guy who's sincere, earnest, honest, seems to be respectful, shows empathy.
Oh my God, was he sitting here?
Yeah, on that very couch.
Yeah, the very couch.
Are you sexually attracted to him? Oh, wow. She just came. I'm just kidding.
Also, like in person, Peter has swag, and
But that's
charming.
the thing is like that's what. So my friends, a lot of female friends I have will be like, oh, he's like a pussy. He's like he doesn't know what he wants, and that's what's unattractive to them. But I'm like, but have you guys seen him like lift a woman on a table and push a woman against a wall? Like he clearly has, as Nick would say, swag in the bedroom. So that sort of evens it out for me. I'm like, yes, he's emosh, but he's also like dominate. As I've described him as a alpha masquerading as a beta.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's hot.
I relate to that.
I feel like you're more alpha.
Yeah, you don't.
What part of you is beta?
I don't, you know how those alpha guys are like, I'm alpha? With the tattoo. Like, I've never claimed to be an alpha.
That's true.
I never talk about being an alpha.
But you're confident in your opinions, which is alpha-y.
I'm not saying I don't have qualities that might demonstrate, but I'm saying is, listen, if I were the Bachelor at 28, I see a lot of similarities to Peter, and
How old were you?
I was 35.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if I were 20,
you would have been Peter.
I would have been Peter.
Yeah.
I would have been close to Peter. I would have been like very like earnest, and I would have tried to like emulate my parents, and I would have just been like, I would have wanted to have sex, but really been drawn to the person who says she's saving herself for marriage. Like, I'm like, totally, 100%. And I would have been a total mess, and I would have been like trying to make everyone happy. I would have been a total shit show.
Good thing you were not a total shit show at 35.
Yeah.
Wow, shade.
Anyway, should we get to these questions?
Let's do it.
All right, guys. Well, you're in for a good show. Don't forget to send your questions at asknick@castmedia.com, cast with a K, and make sure to check us out tomorrow for Big Bachelor recapping. Rothy. Woo, love my Rothies.
Your Rothies?
I mean, I wish.
They're for women, people. They are the most comfortable shoes I own, and Nick can attest I wear them almost every day. And I'm able to do that because I can just throw them in the wash and make them clean again.
Boom, made by recyclable materials.
Yeah.
That's just doing great things for the world.
Exactly. And they have so many new colors. They always are coming out with new designs and new colors, and I'm obsessed with their new spring collection.
Every date I go on, I gift them with Rothies.
You gift every date with Rothies? Yeah. That's a bold statement.
I'm just like helping the world be sustainable and have great fashion.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you what, they're very appreciative.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Gets me to the second date. After that, it's pretty much over. But other than that, everyone's loving them. They're great. I'm seeing them all over, people talking about them. I'm like, hey, I walk up and I'm flying the airport. Are you wearing a Rothy's? Like, yes, I am. How'd you know? I'm like, because you look hot. And so, yeah. I mean, it's also just a great travels thing to put on your feet. Am I right, Rochelle?
Yeah, definitely.
Anyways, go check out all the amazing styles available right now at rothys.com/VIALL. Go to rothys.com/VIALL to get your new favorite flats, comfort, style, and sustainability. Those are the shoes you've been waiting for. Head to rothys.com/VIALL today. Figs. Making healthcare hot.
It's so true.
You don't have to be looking sloppy just to be comfortable. You can look hot and be comfortable now. What are they made with, Rochelle?
They created their own fabric that's antimicrobial, anti-wrinkle, moisture-wicking, and full of stretch and ridiculously soft. And if you've worn other kinds of scrubs, you know that is definitely not the case.
So is there a doctor in your house or a vet tech or a radiologist or any other awesome human in the medical industry? And even if you don't work in the medical industry, I'm sure you know someone, and you should tell them about Figs and whether they make a great gift or just have them gift themselves. I mean, let's go. Get them on the Figs train, people. Listeners of the Viall Files are getting 15% off for a limited time. Go to wearfigs.com. That's WEARFIGS.com and enter promo code VIALL15. That's VIALL15 at checkout.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
Hi, what's up?
Okay. I'm Hannah. I'm 24. And I wrote in because I recently left my church that I grew up in. I'd been in it for 19 years. And it was like the biggest part of my life. Like all of my friends were in the church. I only really dated people in the church. I lived with people in the church. And so it's been like hard leaving and like trying to meet new people / also having like all my friends not really accept like what I'm doing. So I mean, that's like a short version, but
okay.
I guess I just was wondering like how to navigate that. I'm just having like a hard time, like, I don't know, like meeting people / like feeling okay about what I'm doing when my friends don't agree.
Yeah. We're, you don't have to give specifics, but do you live in a small city, a big city?
It's like a pretty big city.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like you live in the middle of nowhere and the only people there are people in your church and you left.
No.
Okay.
It's like around a really big college. So.
Okay. Yeah. How long ago did you make this decision?
It was like middle of December.
Okay, so it's
So
pretty
it's pretty recent.
pretty fresh. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Can we ask like what led you to finally do it?
Well, I think I just felt like I wasn't being like authentic, like, because I was doing so much. Like I was leading a Bible study. It was like every night of the week I had something, and I just was like doubting it and like didn't feel like I had any like freedom in my life to like choose what I wanted. And so I just like couldn't deal with it anymore, and
sure.
Just decided to leave.
Family wise, like how's your family response to this?
So my parents are like supportive.
Oh.
But my brothers are both still in the church, and they're not like not supportive, but they just don't totally understand. Like they've said some like things like you're leaving God and like, I don't know, like dramatic things.
Yeah, well, that's dramatic. Are you able to share like what faith you practice, or was it Christian of some sort?
Yeah, I'm a Christian.
Okay. And are you like, have you just been like, church, God, not for me, or this particular church that you were part of, this community? Is it, you know what I'm saying? Is it more just leaving that, or is it leaving kind of like practicing religion altogether?
I mean, I don't know for sure. I feel like I still believe it, but being like involved anywhere right now seems kind of overwhelming.
Sure.
Like, I don't know like how committed I want to be to like that lifestyle.
Yeah.
I guess.
But so your original question was sort of like how you find a new community of people, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's...
And I feel like it's just like a lot to like tell people when I meet them. Like, it's like a lot of baggage that I'm like, I don't know.
So yeah, I'm curious.
Kind of hard.
I'm curious about, what do you feel when you meet people? Why do you feel like, what baggage do you feel like you have, and what do you feel like you need to tell people? Because to me, you just seem like a nice, normal person, who used to go to church, which is kind of a lot of people.
Yeah. But maybe we're.
I feel like it just like took up my whole life.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'm pretty like, I don't know if I would say I'm like sheltered, but like I don't know a lot of like, I know things, but I haven't like experienced a lot of things.
Sure,
and I think I don't know how to like all my friendships were kind of like based on like having the same values and stuff. And now it's like, I feel like I have to tell people like that I don't have very many friends or like whatever. I don't know.
I don't think you have to do that.
Yeah, you don't have to do that at all.
Yeah.
Look, it's interesting. Like what you're going through is it's similar to like a breakup of some kind. People could be in a relationship where they just kind of stop hanging out with all their friends.
Okay.
They kind of isolate themselves, and then like 2 years later, that relationship doesn't work out, and you're like, shit, fuck, I lost all my friends because I only hung out with this one person. Or sometimes, or you move. There's a lot of reasons why people at your age, at 23, 24, might kind of find themselves searching for a new community. I think that's what you said, Amy, and I think that's a great way of putting it. The fact that it has to do with religion, is unique to you, but I don't think it's that much about, especially as it relates to meeting other people. Like, you don't have to explain yourself. You're not like a weirdo.
But the comment you made about you feel like you're sheltered, does that pertain to like you feel like there are specific types of people you want to be looking to hang out with, or like you think they're going to want to go to bars, or they're going to be interested in different things than you are?
I mean, yeah, like I have been going to bars and stuff and like meeting guys and new people, but it's like, I just feel like I'm like, I don't know, it's just, I'm not used to it or like super comfortable still.
That's the thing. It's going to what you decided to do is going to take time. So my first thing I would say to you is you're going to have to be patient with yourself. It's not going to be like something in a few weeks. You'll be like, oh, I made the right decision. This is going to be like, this is fun and easy and easier than I thought. Like, as you said, you're resetting so much of your life, friends, some family members, a belief system that you grew up kind of really believing in that you're changing. So most of, I think, your struggles are going to come internally from you, and your fears and worries that, like, especially when it comes to like what people might think of you, are probably going to be way more in your head than in reality. Especially because when you go out and meet people, no one's going to be like, oh, this is a girl. She clearly left her church or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one's going to notice this. Like, you're just a normal person who's going to go out and meet someone and make new friends.
And I think you'd be surprised by how many people also feel uncomfortable in those same situations. Like, I don't drink. So, like, I go on a lot of first dates and I'll go to a bar, but, like, it's always a thing of, like, why aren't you drinking? And like, there's always a discussion, and that can be awkward sometimes. But other times it's like a lot of other people also aren't huge drinkers, or, aren't like cruising at bars for one night stands or whatever it is, So, like, I think once you start getting out there, you'll realize that there are other people who feel similar to you.
Modern fertility. Know how the oven's working.
Yeah.
Every oven sometimes needs maintenance. Sometimes, not every oven works the same.
And by oven, you're talking about women's reproductive organs?
Making shit up. I don't know. Listen, for so many reasons, I empathize with you women and the shit you guys have to deal with that we don't,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But tell you what, having a baby is obviously so many people's goals, men and women, and there's a lot of questions that go into someone's fertility. And so for the women out there who are looking for more information and at a more affordable rate, Modern Fertility has the answers for you. Right, Rochelle?
Yeah. I mean, I did it. I'm 33 and I was kind of wondering, what was going on. So they sent me a kit. I pricked my finger, put it on this little piece of paper, send it back in. And then within 10 days, they gave me personalized results, let me know what was going on. And then they offered, I could meet with a fertility specialist. So, and it was super affordable and really easy.
Yeah. And it's like, what, a fraction of the cost?
Oh, yeah. It was $159 and traditional testing costs over $1,000.
And right now, Modern Fertility is offering our listeners another $20 off. So that's $139. Your test, when you go to modernfertility.com/VIALL. That means your test will cost $139 instead of the hundreds or thousands it could cost you at a doctor's office. Get $20 off your fertility test when you go to modernfertility.com/VIALL. modernfertility.com/VIALL. Butcher Box, get your meat, get it now, get it fresh. I love my Butcher Box because you know what? I love my protein.
Yeah.
Pumping some iron, and I like to eat the difference between a good piece of steak and an amazing piece of steak is the quality of the beef.
Yeah.
I also don't have a lot of time. And so I love my meat shipped to me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Anyways, they have all these different types of, is it poultry, beef, I like pork chops. I like to get my pork chops from the old Butcher Box.
Yeah.
Some amazing bacon. They have some of the best bacon you could possibly find.
Ooh.
Mm-mm. So anyways, it's very convenient. Check them out. If you are a meat eater, I know not everyone is, but if you are, Butcher Box has definitely improve the convenience and quality of the meat in my life.
And also, I'm just looking at this. The bacon is nitrate free. There's no added
Very
sugar.
important. Very important.
The salmon is wild caught Alaskan salmon, heritage pork. This is like the highest quality.
I only eat nitrate free bacon. Anyways, right now, ButcherBox is offering new members ground beef for life. What? That's insane. 2 pounds of ground beef in every box for the life of your subscription, plus $20 off your first box. Just go to butcherbox.com/VIALL or enter promo code VIALL at checkout. That's butcherbox.com/VIALL or enter promo code VIALL at checkout. Other than going to bars, have you done anything since December have you joined any groups or clubs or what have you done to kind of expand your community? Yeah, my advice to you is like, just try something.
Right.
Recreational like sports teams. Yeah, I don't even know it doesn't even matter if you like sports, you can just kind of go.
Yeah, there's like kickball things that are,
there's trivia nights or whatever. Whatever, I would start with what your interests are.
Book club.
Yeah, and see if there's like, if you're in any type of like bigger city, there's gonna be recreational groups, whatever that is.
How did you make friends when you moved here, Nick?
I had I kind of had like a couple friends, and then you start there, and then you meet their friends. So like it's kind of the thing. You just kind of find one or two friends, and then you may not be friends with that person in a year or two, but they might introduce you to someone, and you make a connection. What do you do for work?
So I'm in school still. I'm doing social work.
Okay.
So I have some school friends, and then I have I just work at like a country club, and I have coworkers. But
yeah, so I always say on the show, shavings make a pile. You just kind of start, and but I think the big thing with you is don't beat yourself up right now about your decision, because you're going through moments of like hardship and loneliness, and it's. It's brave of you to follow your heart and do something that didn't feel right, especially because I'm assuming it was difficult and it came with a lot of shame and a lot of criticism from people that you felt the closest to. That's not easy to do, and so good for you for doing that. But it's going to take some time, to rebuild your community that you left might take a year or two, and that's okay, and I don't think you should be discouraged by that. But in the meantime, you are going to meet people. You're going to have some interesting interactions. Some will be fun and exciting. Some will probably be terrible and awkward. And that's okay, kind of to Amy's point, it's not that much different than someone just up and moving to a new city and not knowing someone. And a lot of people will struggle with that. There'll be that 6 to 12 month period of like, did I make the right decision? It's like, would it just be easier to go hang out with my old friends who are doing the same thing we've always done and had fun? I mean, so you're not too much different than that.
Do you know anyone who's used like Bumble, BFF or whatever?
I don't.
I have that.
You do?
Have you tried it?
I made a friend like 2 years ago from it, and we're still friends. Okay. But I haven't really met anyone like this time around. So you could try that more.
I think you should. I mean, you're definitely going to have to go through a period of, for a lack of a better word, forcing it. You're really going to have to, like dating, you just kind of have to kind of go out and kind of have those kind of non-traditional and awkward interactions that we used to have in the first grade at the playground.
That's so true. I remember this one time I had a yoga instructor who I thought was so cool, and I followed her on Instagram, and she looked like she had the most perfect life. And I was like, how do I ask her to hang out after class one day? And one day I was just like, oh, are you hungry? Do you want to get lunch? And I literally agonized over asking that for weeks.
Totally.
And then once I hung out with her, I was like, oh, I really built her up. Like, she's not that cool.
She's just a person.
Yeah.
Also, like, and I have done that too. Like, I have a lot of friends now in LA, but like my friendships are different than they were when I was younger. And I sometimes will be like, hey, do you want to hang out? I don't have a lot of friends. Like, it's half true and it's half joking, but it's also like
you'll straight up say it.
Yeah. Like, who cares? Like, my point of saying that is no one's going to be like, oh, you don't have a lot of friends? What's wrong with you?
Right.
You know,
Usually
no
they're
one's saying
like,
that.
it's so hard to meet people as adults.
Yeah,
or something.
it is hard to meet people. So most people, to Amy's point, I think will empathize with you and be like, oh, sure. Yeah, like come have a drink. And then maybe you guys will hit it off as friends and maybe you won't. You know, it's kind of like dating in that regard. But I think just trying to go out there and just meeting people and saying yes to things that you're not used to saying yes to in terms of like just activities. And again, like, you know, you're going to like, if you don't like sports, still might be willing to say yes to an invitation for a recreational sports league. It's just about meeting people and meeting different people and different interests. And I think you'll come to find there's a lot of people in a similar position to you, not necessarily leaving a church, but not having a ton of friends. We're living in a society that's becoming lonelier and lonelier.
Yeah.
And it's not because they left their church. We all live in our phones. We isolate ourselves. We're getting less good at human connections and meeting people. And so I think people are craving that. So I think when you put yourself out there, you'll find that you're not as
it's endearing. Totally.
Yeah. You're not as like unique in a bad way as you might worry that you are. Yeah.
Like I kept it a secret from everybody forever because I grew up similarly, and I just didn't tell people because I thought I was so weird. And then I'm 33, so I started telling people like 3 years ago. Like even my boyfriend didn't really know. And then people are like, "Oh my gosh, that's so interesting!" Like people are really interested.
It's really interesting.
They don't think I'm weird. They think it's like different.
And so when you said you kept it, you're like you just didn't tell people that you grew up very religious.
No, I grew up like kind of in a cult similar to her. So it's like the whole thing they do is make you are separate from the world. So it's like you guys against the world. You're different. They're bad. You're good. So like, and I had like years of missing pop culture. So I didn't get people's jokes. I didn't get people's references. And it's like built to make you not feel.
Isolate,
yeah. So
it's like a mini North Korea.
Exactly. So like, you just kind of pretend, you like laugh at people's jokes. You're like, ha ha ha. Like you pretend to fit in, but you feel very alone.
It's definitely like they have a way of thinking and a way of like viewing situations. And it wasn't like I didn't have any other friends, but it was like so much of my time was devoted that it was like those were my people and these were the things that we did. And like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Like Rochelle is, grew up in a similar situation. It's like a re-engineering of your entire like social structure.
Oh yeah. I've like left for 10 years and I'm still in therapy, like still working on it. And you're still discovering things like, oh, that's why I like do this one thing. It's pretty complicated.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Hannah, I think my biggest takeaway is don't beat yourself up. I think what you're doing is brave, and you're going to just have to be patient with yourself. I mean, it's just going to be a challenge. And just, don't be afraid to be vulnerable with new people that you meet. I think people will, like, as Rochelle said, find you endearing. It's quite honestly, it's probably really interesting. If I met you on the street or we were on a date and you told me the story, I'd be like, really? Tell me more. Like, it's just very fascinating.
Right. It's not bad.
No one's going to be like, you're a freak.
Yeah.
That's not the reaction.
We grew up in a very Puritan society. We still have one. It's a very still religion. A lot of people people can relate to you being Christian. Just the fact that you come from a more devout and very specific one is not like, it's unique and might be different, but it's not like you came from Mars, like people, get it. So yeah, go out there, put yourself out there, go on dates, meet friends. Don't be afraid to tell people like, I'm looking to meet new friends. Like that, no one's gonna be like, ew, weird. Like you seem totally fine and normal.
Yeah,
like,
awesome.
Sweet.
It's pretty endearing when people are like, I don't have a ton of friends, And if someone like
this is how we know how Nick makes friends.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't have any.
I just go out to the street, I stand out there, I walk up to people and be like, hey, I don't have a lot of friends. You want to go see this movie that came out? No, but seriously, I think if you are willing to put yourself out there and show your vulnerability, that's actually only going to attract more people, not necessarily push people away,
Yeah.
you're not.
I actually made a friend. I watched The Bachelor at a bar, and I made a friend watching The Bachelor. So
Yeah.
good.
It's
that I've made my best friends from
it's
watching
funny.
The Bachelor.
Tyler Cameron, everyone know favorite Tyler Cameron. He started his run thing in New York when he was doing it. And a lot of the it's mostly women, but would come out and do the run. Then I went once, and you get to know them. And a lot of the people running were like interns. They moved to New York City for the summer. So a lot of them didn't have friends. And a lot of people became friends simply off of like their obsession of The Bachelor.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like you just got to find like whether it is The Bachelor or Bachelor groups or other interests that you have. Maybe it's sports for some people. Maybe it's like some sort of other hobby. Yeah. If you have a mutual interest, that's an easy way to talk to someone about anything. You can come from very different lives, but you have this similar interest, and that's a budding of a friendship. So that's a great, start like that. It sounds like you're doing the right things. To be honest, I think you're just struggling with. It's just so different than what you had, and it includes a lot of moments of loneliness and wishing you kind of had what you had before, and knowing that's not right. So you just have to push through, really.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for calling. This is very fascinating. It's always.
You're ever in LA, you're welcome to one of my batch nights.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a nice invite.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. It's a fun group. I went. Yeah. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Rochelle, how many of these like groups are there? In a sense that like how do these like it's Christian, right? Like, but there seems to be these like pockets of more devout or unique groups. Like where does that come from?
I don't know. I think it happened, I don't know, when people like immigrated from Europe and they just kind of like isolated themselves. They had like a leader that like made it, I don't know. It's just this idea of like you versus them, and like everyone has to dress the same, and like, but it does create a great community. But if you leave it, you're screwed because you're like, I don't know this world.
Wow. But like with your community, like your parents, like they live in like Arizona.
Right. But they were born in the Midwest.
Okay.
And everyone in my family has been in the same church in the Midwest. And it's the same one in Arizona. And everyone wears long skirts, long hair, buns, veils.
Your parents still...
My dad's a minister, yeah. So...
Your mom's wearing long skirts and buns?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nick, why did I think you were from like a religious background?
I am.
You are?
Yeah. I grew up, very Catholic. Interestingly enough, we grew up Catholic, but there was a church that we'd go to like once a month that was like it was still very Catholic, but it was more of it was where like some nuns left. It was like a faction of Catholicism, but it wasn't necessarily more intense. Like it was more specific, I guess you could say, but it wasn't. And maybe some of the people who did go there were probably a little bit more devout Catholics than your typical, but not like there was no like crazy.
So when you went on The Bachelor, there weren't people from your community who were like, this is.
I mean, there might have been, but I wasn't like,
care.
I didn't care, and it wasn't a part of my life. And my parents have since, my parents have become more and more progressive. I mean, I have a sister who came out gay, but I guess I'm familiar with that group, but it wasn't as like
it gets bad when they start controlling how you dress.
Yeah.
If you can, like my dad can't watch movies. Well, he's never been in the movie theater. Like
there was nothing.
I was told I shouldn't read any book besides the Bible. Like when you start controlling all the aspects, that's where it gets dicey.
It was never hardcore. I mean, I grew up. There were some crazy things my grandma said to me.
Right.
I was told like Michael Jackson and Prince were the devil. They were no. I think I was told once that they
might have been right about some of that.
Actually, I was told that they worship the devil. Which I mean, listen, minus the Michael Jackson stories, it wasn't about that. It was about them being different and dancing and them moving their bodies and sex, and it was like a very ignorant point of view about like, and it was similar to like what you're talking about, like. This is different. This is scary.
Right.
They worship Satan.
Very black and white.
I remember it being like, I don't know. I mean, I was probably like 7 and be like, that seems a hardcore. Does he really? I don't know. His music's kind of nice.
You never felt like you had to follow those beliefs.
I mean, listen, my parents were pretty hardcore. There was, I grew up with a lot of Catholic guilt for sure. I mean, yeah, but never. I was 15 or 16. I probably, not probably. I definitely had this idea that I wanted to save myself for marriage, and then I turned 17. So like
and your hormones changed your mind.
And then and so my parents. More than anything, always made me feel like they were going to love me unconditionally, regardless. And I was never afraid of sinning, I guess you could say, based off of like the things I did. But like it wasn't without fear and guilt from a big picture standpoint.
Yeah, I bet.
But not as hardcore as what you're describing, and certainly Hannah. All right, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
Shannon, and I'm 27.
Hi, Shannon, 27. How can we help?
Yes. So my question is along the theme of establishing earlier on consistency with somebody in a relationship. I feel like my overarching theme in relationships has always kind of been that I meet somebody and they seem really, really wonderful in the beginning. And they are wonderful in the beginning. They do a lot that makes me feel really cared for and seen and important and prioritized and all the things, you're supposed to feel in a relationship. And then after a couple months, they'll usually ask me to be their girlfriend. We'll establish an exclusivity. And then it just kind of really declines from there. And there's normal like ebb and flows in relationships. And I know that I've been in long-term relationships before. My longest one was just under about 4 years.
Okay.
But the last few years I've noticed where it's like a really sharp decline in consistency to the point where I sometimes question if they even still like me after like 6 months. And I'll ask them and they kind of will like swear up and down that everything's great and I'm great and their relationship is great and they're really happy. But their actions don't really match up to what they were. So I guess my main question is, how can you establish earlier on that you're kind of dealing with somebody that treats their relationships with a certain level of consistency from beginning, middle, and then however long the duration is?
It's a great question. I don't.
Well, when you say consistency, like, are you saying they are dropping off in terms of like how much they want to hang out, or like the affection or affirmation they're giving you? Like, what's changing?
Honestly, a little bit of everything, not so much the quality time, though. The quality time has always been pretty consistent in my relationships, but it doesn't, like, grow either. So I guess it stays kind of the same on that side. But then the stuff that does change is the affirmations, like you said, like the letting me know where they're at, and overall just kind of the emotional availability that they give me. But yet then they'll tell me that they've never been so open with somebody, and I'm sitting over here like, really? Because you don't tell me where you're at all, it feels like.
So
and I used to.
Your relationship of 4 years, I mean, granted, it ended, but it sounds like for a big chunk of that relationship, you were getting all these things that you feel like you're not getting now. Is that accurate?
Yeah, exactly. Like all throughout that relationship, granted, it was kind of like young love. We were in college. He was a few years older than me. I was 21 when we stopped dating. He was 25, but it was still 4 years. And never once did he ever make me feel like he didn't feel the same way throughout the whole relationship.
What were some of the things? What were some of the things specifically he did that you really appreciated?
Just like listening to me, hearing me out, and always letting me know how he felt about me in the relationship. Just kind of words of affirmation, reassurance, showing up, things that were important to me. He made it feel like it was important to him too. That sort of stuff.
Nick, like as a dude, do you feel, because I'm curious about this, because I've been trying, like you, or I don't know if you're on this tip, but like I've been trying to be more vocal about my needs, because I sort of feel like what has being like the cool, chill girl, like it doesn't necessarily always get you very far. Like
we talk a lot about that
really?
On the show.
Yeah.
We have a t-shirt that says I'm not a cool chick.
Okay.
I need that shirt.
So like if a girl in a relationship were to be like, I need to know more about how you feel about me, like would that make you feel like you were not reaching a certain like standard, or would you feel like overwhelmed?
It all depends, right, on how much you like someone. What I've noticed with a lot of our callers and people is like if, we all do it, right? If we like someone a lot based off of an initial attraction, and certainly not because we've really know them, we want them to like us back. And so our instincts are to, for some reason, to be more accommodating. It's like, if they tell us what they want, we're like, okay, well, let's do that. And then we start slowly forgetting about the things that we want and need. Right. I think that women tend to do that more than men, but men do it a little bit more. And I think men seem to be better historically of saying what they think and feel. We've gotten away with it a little bit longer over time. But yeah, I think that happens. And when we really I think as we get older and mature, we do get better and sometimes harder of just saying, fuck it, I'm just going to say what I think now because I've tried to be accommodating and that doesn't work out. And so it is just practicing, especially early on, about, what you want and need. And there's definitely a balance between expressing what you need and being, quote unquote,
needy,
not the needy or annoying or crazy or all these kind of labels that, women tend to get labeled. I've hung out with this person recently and have had some really nice dates and they're
okay.
And I'm asking some it's a very mature conversations and I asked her a question when she gave me shit because she realized that I was vetting her out in terms of her craziness or lack thereof. And I was like, and I go, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you care about things? Was this more
material things?
No, it was very vague. Where it was just do you get mad at a lot of things or do you not get mad?
What kind of question is that, dude?
Totally, no, she gave me a lot of shit and rightfully so. But I guess, we're all trying to figure out when we're dating early on how people react. And
yeah.
So are you saying she should establish her expectations earlier? Or
yeah, definitely. I mean, you seem like you have expectations, clearly. And good for you for having those expectations. I'm curious, kind of to Amy's point, when you start dating, how clear to these guys about your expectations are you?
Not very. I like Amy's point about kind of being the cool girl. My whole MO, I guess, is that I don't want to have to ask for things from people. I don't want to do them.
Right.
Because it feels cheapened, if a guy doesn't want to see me more or communicate with me more, it feels weird for me to ask that. Because
you should naturally want to do that.
I want you to want to do the dishes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like...
But it's not doing the dishes. It's hanging out with her.
No, I know.
Well, yeah, if you like me, you would want to do it. Otherwise, if you're not, me asking feels kind of weird.
Well,
right?
when it comes to things like quality time, yeah, that should come pretty naturally. I get that. Maybe later in relationships, we don't spend time together anymore.
That's why I was asking you, because that is I'll be real, I think that's a hard thing to do. It has been for me to be so how are you feeling about me? Or
yeah.
I need you to let me know how you're feeling about me more. Oh God, that makes me want to cringe saying that.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's well, you could say it a different way. This I've gone on dates with women and who seem to be better at that. No offense, than you, the average person.
Than us.
Fair.
And it's a but it's a balance too, because then when I get that question, I'm just okay, I like her assertiveness, but is this too much? Yeah, I don't know. In fairness, and totally fairness, but I don't jump to conclusions. But what it's been hey, I haven't you don't seem interested. I haven't heard from you in 3 days, so I don't know. And I'll be no, I'm you're right. I'm sorry. I think it's hold men accountable. There's a difference between being needy and just being I don't know. You don't seem all that interested.
As it is.
Yeah, just calling it like it is. And I've said this before. Sometimes the best thing to do with guys is there's a difference between me why don't you like me and why don't you do this, and me and calmly just being I don't know, you don't seem that into me. In a very calm way, and you're just I'm fine either way, buddy. But
but she's not.
And it doesn't. No,
you're playing it.
You're just playing it cool.
Right, cool.
And also I'm sure you are fine in the sense that you're just more yeah, I like don't get me wrong, I like you and I'd love to hang out and I'd prefer, but you don't seem as interested. And what I'm not willing to do is pine for your attention and constantly ask. but I do have these expectations. And so like, so there's
and then you won't be 6 months down the road or whatever. Like it's hard to confront those questions, but it's a time saver.
What you don't want to do, and it seems like what you're doing, is you meet a nice fellow. It seems like you have fun. You've decided you liked him. And so you're like, oh, let's just hang out. He seems to be kind of calling the shots, and you're just out there. Not only is he calling the shots, but you're like, quote unquote, testing him by just saying, well, I'm just going to see what he does.
Yeah.
Right. Meanwhile, you've not set any expectations or boundaries of what you want or need to make you feel happy. And so he's basically flying blind. And the truth is, we as men have different interests and expectations as you women, and we don't and we get selfish, as everyone does. And we just kind of put things on cruise control. Right. And so, some of it is laziness on the part of men, and some of it is like not knowing. And so if you don't set any expectations early on, and that's the thing too, is like you meet someone early on, and if they are good at just expressing what they think, then you're like, well, now I know. And now I can decide, do I want that? Do I like that? And I'll keep going. And if I do, I never can say to her, well, why are you bringing this up now? Like you expect if I like you, you expect me to like make you feel that way in a sense. And here's how you can make me feel that way. And you seem very reasonable. And
totally.
And I think it's weird in our society, I think, and I do it too. You get complacent, and sometimes you hate to be like, you're right. I do need to say this more, and I do need to do this more, and I do like you, and I don't necessily know why I haven't said it.
Why do you think that happens? Like, what is that complacency that sets in? Like, even small things, like how many girlfriends do you have who it starts out, and we live in LA, right? Like, so you live on the west side, someone lives on the east side. In the beginning, they're willing to drive to Silver Lake to see you, and then a month in, it's like, it's just expected you go to their place.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you start, it's like anything else. When you first start,
the girl is always the one making the sacrifice, I feel like.
Maybe so, but that's mostly because the guy in that situation has been the one to been like, you should come over here. And she goes, okay. And then it's kind of like, well, if you're willing to come, I'm going to let you come, over. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
again, voicing that, like, listen, I've come over there like 8 times this month,
specifically in LA, I have dated women, and because I live on the west side, and I've dated women who lived on the east side, and I'm always like, hey, do you want to come over? And it's like, cool. And then I've been like, listen, I know it's a long drive. I'll pay for your Uber. And they're like, cool. And eventually, like, there a couple times, this has been over the course of, a few years. It's like, well, no, I don't want to come over. Why don't you come over? And then I've been like, okay, but until they like
force you to.
Well, no, not even force. They're just like, I don't want to drive. Like and it's just like, then I decide I want to come over, and it's like, sure, but until you fucking ask, I'm still going to be letting
like
you.
On the whole,
we do things we don't want to do all the time without being asked, and that's, I guess, what's annoying.
I think there's a difference between, and I get it, like you want someone who wants to hang out with you. It's not that. It's like, I want to hang out with you. I just don't want to drive. And if you're willing to hang out with me.
Yeah.
And listen, I went. I wanted to hang out with her, And so.
Yeah.
There, like, you do have to pick your battles with that in terms of like wanting a guy to, like, we are simple and stupid generally, even the smart ones. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. I guess I think men in a dating situation have just gotten better at being lazy and saying what they want, and women tend to be more accommodating in those situations for some reason. And until that changes, we'll probably always take advantage.
Moral of the story: be less accommodating and say what you want, girl. Just
totally.
Rub the jump.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna try. I've definitely realized it might be something I'm partially, contributing because it's the pattern at this point.
That in no way makes you crazy or bitchy or difficult or no. And quite honestly, it'll just attract more men. 100%. Like, there is a big difference between like acting crazy and saying what you want, and guys love to do that.
Feedback.
No, they just everyone likes a challenge in a sense, right? Everyone loves expectation. And so when you're like, I don't need to come and see you, and if you want to see me, by all means come over, guys will come a calling, you know, they really will. And not everyone. And then that's when you get in that
right one.
And then that's that moment where, and what I've gotten better in my age, and maybe too much, is when you're dating someone, sometimes, and I felt this too, it's like you do something that makes them frustrated or something. And then you're like, okay, I see what you're saying. I'm going to explain myself. And it's not necessarily you did something right or wrong. You just did something that there's a miscommunication. And they're like, I don't know. I don't necessarily accept that, or I don't understand. You don't get it on the same page. Then you're just kind of like, well, then I guess there's a disconnect here. And maybe we have the answer that we need. When I was younger, I would just be like, I am not leaving the situation until I get you to like I will you know what I'm saying? And like
that's like a 2020 thing, I think, too. Yeah. And that's, I think, part of like the problem or I've encountered with modern dating is just like the second there's like a small bump in the road, it's like, well, there's a million people out there, so like I really don't need to try harder.
There is that balance, the abundance of choice, and I think to your point, Amy, like what we're saying to you, I think will help. I don't know if it will always solve your problem, because we are in dating in 2020, people have gotten lazier and aren't communicating. But I do think that if you communicate better, you will find some guys willing to reciprocate. Yeah. And the ones that don't are just, and to Amy's point, if you state this earlier, you will save yourself 5 or 6 months up front. You know, you're waiting to find out who they are later in life. Start asking questions on a second or third date about some of your expectations. I mean,
see that second or third date.
Sure, why not?
What kind of expectations could someone lay out that didn't seem like, holy shit, that's fast?
Honestly, I think like a third date is totally fair game to start like dabbling into like past relationships.
Yes.
But within that, it's not just like, have you had a boyfriend? How long was it? Like people tend to ask those questions and stop there. You know, you can get in like, so what was that relationship like? What did you fight about? Like what, you know, like yeah, it's just like you can really learn a lot about like how they, you know, what they liked. And so like, oh, why describe your girlfriend to me? What was her personality like? Oh, I'm kind of like that. Like, what does this mean? You know, you start asking a lot of questions.
But you're talking more about doing a little research, not expectation, not sending out your expectations.
Well, first you do the research and you figure it out, and then you start asking questions like, well, and then you kind of have to be honest. And I've gotten better with that. Mm-hmm. It's like, interesting. Well, let me tell you about me, about like how I respond to things or how I don't. And like, would this be something that bothers you? You know, I'm pretty honest with like, I don't know.
Is this a deal breaker? Yeah.
Because when you're younger, and like at least what I was, you hear something, you're just like, no, I'm not like that. Totally. I wouldn't do that. Like I'm actually pretty great, and I'm like really chill. And I've gotten better at being like, I'll be honest, like
I do the same shit.
I do that, and I'm pretty annoying. You know, like I've definitely pissed off girlfriends by doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like you just kind of have more honest conversations, and so I think that just comes with practice.
Yeah, I think that's really just what it comes down to, I guess, is what I need to do is have more honest conversations and not just let, I guess, what they're showing me in the beginning be just the only thing that I pay attention to at the surface and don't really kind of probe.
We try to pretend everything is perfect and great. Like I posted, like it was kind of a weird analogy, but dating's kind of black and white. It's like, you know, it's very... you're the black, I'm the white, you know, this is who I am, this is I am, and what we present ourselves is all like, that's the fact. And then when we start dating, everything becomes more gray, and we kind of like really learn about each other, and we kind of, everything's not so simple, you know, it's like, yeah, you are a nice guy overall, but you're kind of fucking annoying, you know, and that's the reality who that person is, and that's everyone. You have to figure out which annoying you want to deal with, you know?
Yeah, so for sure.
If that's true.
Good luck.
It's true. We're all a mess.
That's love. So, all right. Well, thank you for calling. Best of luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
I've been burned by like, I somehow got it in my head. I was like, I'm going to be the best girl for 3 months so that they'll be my boyfriend and do everything right. And I was like, they still don't want to do it. Like, you know what I mean? It still doesn't help.
I don't know why we do that, but it's like the worst thing you can do. Because they have no idea who you are.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And B, you know, I think men and women are the same that way. Even if you're not saying, I will do anything for you to like me, people feel that.
Pathetic.
And when people are like, I don't know, she'll do anything to me for like her, so I hate her. It's a real thing.
So, yeah. Yep.
You feeling this one?
I just, I mean, I was just talking with my roommate this morning about like, I mean, the age old, when a guy likes you and gives you affection, why is that repulsive?
Yeah, we're the same way that way. It's just like, you know, you've heard like, oh, girls like the asshole, which is like, there's some truth to that, right? And
right. You only, I mean, I think women almost equally as men want someone who is unavailable in some way.
It's not so much unavailable, but our egos want to know that
we are a prize, or like we want it.
Yeah, that like you are deserving of me, and this wasn't easy in a sense.
Yes.
And that
you're a desirable person.
We're taught that love is something worth fighting for, like Peter. You know, so there's so many layers to that complexity of why we do it, but it's all ego driven. But yeah, when we're just like, "Ew, you want to cuddle? Fuck you."
They do that?
No, they don't actually say that, but no. But there's, you know, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, how's it going?
It's going good.
What's your name?
My name's Nikita. I'm 28 years old.
What's up, Nikita, 28?
So I guess kind of the backstory that I sent in is that the backstory is that 6 years ago, I was engaged, broke it off, started dating this guy pretty shortly after who was really awesome, really great. The timing just kind of wasn't right because I had just gotten out of a pretty serious relationship. So we kind of went our own ways. He ended up getting married and recently got divorced. So it's been 6 years. We reconnected and we've been dating for about a month now, and he's still just really great. And I guess part of me was just hoping that, like, because we got reconnected, that like, oh, the timing's right now and all of that good stuff. I just feel like, I guess I don't know. He's so great, but I feel like I'm kind of smothered. And I don't know if it's maybe just me not appreciating it or just needing to give it more time, or if it's just something where he's doing stuff that normal people should enjoy and should want to have.
We were just talking about this.
Nikita, tell him the title of your email.
I don't remember what I put.
I don't like nice guys.
I don't like nice guys.
Yeah. What does he do that feels smothered?
Yeah, thank you. Be specific on some things that he does, and you're like, ugh.
It's so funny. It's stuff that, like, all of my friends are like, no, you should like this. This should be a good thing. He's just really good about, like, he'll text me back within, like, an hour if I ever text him. He, like, seems always available. If I am having a rough day and he knows about it, he's like, oh, well, can I, like, bring you something? Do you need, like, a treat?
You don't like this?
What do you need?
Girl.
I guess I'm super independent.
No, but I'm saying, what has he done that, like, in that moment, you're, like, for whatever reason, irritated and you don't know why?
Yeah, I guess I'm not necessarily irritated, but I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe I just need to talk to him and be like, why are you available all the time?
So it's an idea that bothers you. You want to.
No, it sounds like he is available all the time.
No, I'm saying, but that idea of that bothers her. There's nothing actually even specific. So you can't. Is it safe to say that I don't want to put words in your mouth that you can't really pinpoint anything specifically that he does? It's just overall, you kind of want him to, like. You want to wonder if he likes you?
I don't really. No, I don't have any questions about that. I think maybe I like having my own independence, even in relationships, and I like feeling like I have my time in my life, and it just seems like.
Well, that's why. Okay, so
he wants to monopolize.
That's great. So, like, yeah, there's a difference between. Sometimes people confuse, like, oh, he's such a nice guy. In reality, maybe he's nice, but he could be still smothering and overbearing, like. You know, so when you do things on your own, does he, like, kind of pout and whine and make you feel bad about that?
No, but if I tell him, like, because I rock climb a lot, so if I tell him, like, oh, I went to the gym with some of my buddies, he'll be like, oh, I went to the gym too. We should have gone together. That would have been fun. Or
okay, when you say buddies, are you talking about girls or guy friends, or both?
I climb with both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he friends with those specifically guy friends?
Not those people, but some of the other activities I do, like he's friends with them and he'll come hang out with my friends. And
why isn't he friends with them at all?
Why what?
Why isn't he friends with those group of friends?
Because he just hasn't ever come climbing with me.
Because you never invited him?
I have.
You have? And what, he doesn't go?
Yeah. He said he was going to at some point, but then like
Okay,
our
well,
schedules are kind of crazy. So
I mean, Nick, you can fight me on this if you want. This is not going to work out. I have been this girl many times, and it's just a gut feeling. And if it's there from the beginning,
Yeah.
I don't think that my longest relationship was with a guy who would have done anything for me. He was so nice. And I didn't like who I became because he was so available. Like I felt like, yeah, it's just this intangible thing. And I know this sounds unfair, but it's like, have a backbone, like have more of your own life. Like, why is it so attractive when a guy is a little bit more like withholding? I don't know. And I wish that wasn't the case. But like, for me personally, that's just not what I'm attracted to. And it sounds like that's how you are.
I'm not going to fight you on this. Yeah, I mean, listen, people like you said time, and you dated him before, it didn't work out. And was it pretty much for the same reasons?
No, a lot of it was like me just having gotten out of an engagement and just still trying to, I didn't like the person I became while I was with the person I was engaged to.
Okay.
And so I just needed to take some time to be by myself to get back to a better version of me.
Which is great and maybe probably true, but also kind of to Amy's point, had you met someone at the time that like he just kind of threw you for a loop, you probably would have been like, well, I'll figure myself and hang out with you.
Yeah.
There's probably something to the fact that like you just lack this spark with this person, and that happens all the time. I mean, it's happened with me a lot where it's just like, yeah, she seems great, she's beautiful, she's nice, she's smart, like everything on paper seems great. I'm just like, I just don't,
yeah.
I don't.
Come going.
And that can be a real thing. And so now also it could be a real thing that you are, for whatever reason, attracted to toxic men. And I'm not saying that's true.
But is it toxic? No, but like seriously, is it toxic to, I don't know. There's just something about someone who is more deferential to you that I think in a woman or a man.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, because like you can be attracted to a guy who's kind of a little bit aloof and you're not totally sure and keeps you on your toes. That's not toxic. That's just someone who is less kind of like on all the time and you feel smothered, as you say. But like sometimes we can, at least we've confused that with like, it's like it's a trap for being attracted to toxic people, is what I'm saying. Like, because sometimes the toxic person, while also being toxic, is also making us feel good about keeping us on our toes because of the toxicity. So what I'm saying is like, it's not mutually exclusive, but like we tend to find it's easy to find the toxic person that way because we're desiring this kind of tension and release and this tug of war. Right. And so that's just what we have to be mindful of, right? I think, I know personally for me, that's literally been my biggest challenge is liking that challenge, liking the someone that keeps me on my toes.
Right. It feels like you to a T, actually.
Yeah. But when I look back, it's just like I ended up being in toxic relationships where it was just a lot of like, I'm not saying these were like bad people, but the relationship was it ended up being a lot of fighting and criticism and name calling and a lot of like, I was a lot of gaslighting where I was just like, why am I always defending myself? Like,
it's such a challenge to find the person who's not obsessed with you, but also doesn't treat you like shit.
Yeah.
It's like,
that is
where's the middle ground, man?
That is a balance.
Yeah.
That it is hard. But, in this particular relationship, who knows? Amy's probably right too. But it's one of those things too. That's why I ask those questions. Like, if you don't want to be with him, that's fine. But if you are going to be with him, then you need to hang out with him and invite him to things.
Yeah.
And, relationships don't tend to work if you're separating boyfriends from groups of friends or girlfriends. Like, that's a surefire way to create insecurity of like, why haven't I met your friends? Like, you have this whole life that I'm not familiar with. And like, I don't want to be like, I don't want to come across as needy, but like, you're my girlfriend. So like, I don't know these people you talk about a lot and you spend a decent amount of time with. And like, at first that's normal. After a while, that's weird.
Would you feel better if does he not have his own things going on? Like you just feel like he'll do whatever?
And he'll like go do stuff, but I don't know. I'm always like, I will be doing something and he'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go like do something with my friends. So I'm like, hey, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I personally, and this is my opinion. Like if you're in an adult committed relationship which assuming you want to get married is usually anytime you're an adult in a committed relationship, the goal is, could this be my person? Right. Like for the average person. You should spend most of your time together, and free time is very important, and having your own hobbies is very important, and having your own things is very important, but the majority is still together, and then what
would you consider most of your time?
I don't know what the ratio is. I don't have a ratio, but I would assume that like, minus like work, I'm not talking about like work, but like most of your free time, I would say at least half should be like spent doing things together. Mm-hmm. But maybe even like...
She goes, ugh.
I'm talking about
that is not a good sign, girl.
I'm talking about your free time. So if you're free, and listen, everyone's different. Like I'm in no way right or wrong, but I would say I don't think that's unreasonable. Listen, you might be someone who's like, I just want 10% of my free time to be, I just want someone who like gives me birthday cards and has sex with me. And most of the time I want to do whatever I want. That might be you and that's fine, but you're going to have a harder time finding the person to match that.
Right. That's the whole point. If you guys if you're a 10%er and he's not, which doesn't sound like he is, then that's the...
Totally. Yeah. Right. So there's no right or wrong, but it also might just be someone, to Amy's point, maybe you're a 10%er for him, and you just need to find the person who, you want to be 40, 45, 50% with,
okay. Yeah.
And you'll just have to, but don't waste a lot of time, just because he's nice and
right.
Stay with him just because
I think I've maybe just been kind of pushing through it just because it did seem very serendipitous that we were together 6 years ago. It didn't work out. And now
I don't know. The world's too small to fall trap to serendipity. It's just like,
whoa, jaded for that.
Wow.
I mean, no, I don't. Listen, I don't believe in fate. I don't, shit happens. And sometimes that shit is good stuff. When you're around long enough, you just kind of like, we're creatures of habit. We run.
That was like when I saw you in the airport with that relationship.
Yeah.
You don't think there's any magic?
Yeah. I don't think there's any magic that is trying to steer us in a certain direction. I think that magic comes from our choices and the things that we do. And there's moments that happen and it feels kismet and that's great. But I don't think we should base our decisions off an idea of fate. We can get ourselves in trouble. We can end up in relationships we don't really want to be on because like
it's an alluring
because it's a fun story to tell people.
Totally.
Sometimes you met them on a fucking dating app and that person is awesome for you. And you know what? The downside is you don't have a cute story. But you're like, oh, it was so cute how we met. But like, I don't know, the most of the time it's pretty fucking boring.
I agree with you. I have so many female friends who are resistant to dating apps just because they won't have a story. And I'm like, that's so dumb. Then like, what do you want to sit in the grocery store all day hoping someone asks the brand of milk you're buying? Like, okay, good luck.
This vanilla guy I have nothing in common with, like asked me out in the most romantic way. And I love telling that story. So like but like when I hang out with them, I want to punch myself in the face. But like we do that for some reason because we love the idea of it. So
because of The Bachelor.
That's not because
You're
of the
part of the problem, Nick.
It kind of is.
I don't watch The Bachelor and go, I want that.
A lot of people do.
Well,
that.
you obviously did at one point. You went on a couple times.
What?
You went on a couple times.
Oh my God.
I just went on to be famous. No, I'm just kidding.
I wouldn't doubt it.
No.
How you liking it now, Nick?
No, I don't for the life of me. I've never I didn't really watch it before, but before
didn't you love the going to fight for her? That you didn't like that?
Well, that's different than like finding a helicopter ride romantic. But you're right. No, listen, I fall trapped to it too very much going back on Caitlin's season was the whole story behind it and fighting for love. Certainly, I was very much like that, and certainly I've probably become more cynical and jaded. But yes, me going back on the show for Caitlin was all about like, I was like, my ego was like, yeah, you go, Nick, you go fight for love, and this is awesome. And like, yeah, I totally felt trapped to the story for sure, 100%. I did.
We caught him.
I'm not saying I haven't done that, and I'm not, but I don't, like, big picture, when I take a step back and look at it,
I think that's an age thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's certainly not a reason to be in a relationship.
No.
So yeah.
I wish you luck, because that's not a fun situation to be in, even though it seems great. I know, I like, honestly, like, all your friends you started out by saying are like, well, you should love that. It's like, if that fundamentally is causing like discord within you, like, and everyone thinks your life should feel so good, it doesn't. It feels really bad. So
yeah, you're about to have that "it's not you, it's me" breakup. But it's fine. Just be kind to him. It's okay. You're better off pulling the cord now than leading him on. And, you know, we're not saying, you know, this is what it is, but you do have to trust your gut. And going forward, just be mindful of falling trapped to toxic people because you like the challenge. And that's just something we all have to be mindful of when we're looking for that perfect balance of a challenge and also having our needs met.
That makes sense. Yeah.
All right. Take care. Best of luck.
Thank you.
All right.
bye.
Bye.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Well, what's your name?
I'm Lynn. I'm 27.
Hi, Lynn, 27. How can we help?
I'm good. So I have a question that I thought you would be really good at answering, or what I should do.
Putting in the pressure.
It is a work-related question, and all of the advice I have gotten so far was from like other women.
Ooh, I actually read your email. Amy will be very good for this, I think. I'm glad Amy's here.
Okay.
So I work at a bank, and where I'm from, it's mostly women-dominated bank, which is really cool. And I've been there about 5 years, and I've never worked with a guy like this. So we went through a bunch of staff changing. And so my manager moved up. We got a new manager, and then we hired another girl, and her and I did not get along at all. And I went on maternity leave and came back about 8 weeks later, and her and I mended our fences, and like we just squashed it all. So then the boss I don't think he likes that. So we have a guy manager now. And to me, it feels like he likes conflict between all of us. And to the point of where I don't know if I want to go to HR about it or not. Like when I came back from maternity leave, I was very hormonal, and something had happened, and I took it as my fault. And like I started crying, and like a few days later, I found out he was calling me names, like I was pathetic for crying and being a baby. And I'm like, well, he didn't say that to my face, but you know, he said it to someone else who then told me. And he's very moody, I would say. You never know what type of mood he's going to be in. He's very kind of hostile at points.
What does he do that indicated that he likes to stoke conflict between you and your female coworker?
So one time he told me that she was going to HR about stuff about me. And then when he got her alone, he would tell her the same thing that I was doing it to her. And we were not
and it was
ever
both
doing that. What was that?
And you women got together and been like, you kind of traded stories and realized he was making it up.
When we made up, we traded stories, and I told her that, and she's like, no, that's what he told me. And I said, no, I would never do that. And so I have talked to his boss, which used to be my boss. She just moved up.
And all she says about it was, well, he's not me. He doesn't act like I do. And, that's all the further it got.
That's the supervisor of him?
Wait, your former boss, who's now his boss, you went to her in confidence saying, this is what's going on. And she was just like, well, I don't do that. She made it
Yeah,
up.
exactly.
A weird
because
response.
I think when he talks to her, he manipulates the situation. I think he's kind of a smooth talker, and I get like heebie-jeebies working alone with him. Like, what's he gonna say? What is he gonna do? And it's really uncomfortable to work with him.
What did you say to your former boss, his now boss specifically? Were you just like, did you say this? Like, I'm uncomfortable working with him?
Yeah. And I've told her, one time he was literally yelling with another coworker, cussing and like cussing at us, and didn't stop when a customer walked in. And, she's like, well, I'll just talk to him again. And then and I think she has a hard time with it because she's best friends with his wife.
Okay.
And we live in a really small town, so everyone knows everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm a reporter at the LA Times, and I just finished reading this book. I don't know if you heard about it. The woman who was like the whistleblower at Uber.
I didn't know.
And
What's it called?
It's called Whistleblower. And she encountered a lot of harassment in the workplace. And when she reported it to HR, it was completely mishandled, ultimately leading her to write this blog post about Uber that like got the CEO ousted. But one thing I took away from that, and this woman was very persistent in going to HR, which it sounds like you haven't done yet. She was really good at documenting every piece of behavior that was she felt was inappropriate, like the dates, like the emails, like all of that. I mean, and I don't know what Nick's going to say. I definitely think you should go to HR. And when you do, maybe be armed with that kind of documentation, even if you don't have emails, like just writing it down so that you have like a strong case, because it sounds like you really do.
I would tend to agree. I just have heard a lot of, I know there's a lot of people out there who have conflicting points of view, like HR is not your friend.
They're definitely not.
Right.
But if you have everything documented.
I think the documentation is key. It's tougher for you because it's a smaller organization and a tight community, and there's layers involved there where like something as corporate America as Uber has its challenges too, because you're dealing with like this monster company. But because there's so many eyes on Uber, like because she documented it, I'm guessing like it was at that point you couldn't ignore.
Well, they did ignore it, and so she ultimately went public.
But
like, I don't know if you're not going to do that, maybe, but like.
And I have been documenting things.
Okay, that's good.
And he's been like talked to before, but it's he'll be fined for a couple of weeks and then just go back.
Is this like a small regional bank, or is it a larger bank that's you're in a?
We're just only in one state.
Okay.
So.
But how big is it? Like how big is the company? It's still like a decent sized company.
Yeah, we have 17 branches.
Okay.
It's
like, so we're pretty fair size.
Yeah, that's not a.
I mean, what is do you have like what do you want the outcome to be?
I just want to, like, I love my job, and I'm afraid, like, if I do go to HR, that there'd be, like, labeled that girl, or, like, I'm the one who did this.
That is
like repercussions, like him, like, coming back onto me.
Do you feel like you have?
They're not.
That is literally illegal.
Yeah, he's legally not allowed. That's retaliation. So you are protected from any kind of retaliation. They're not allowed to fire you for coming forward.
Exactly.
And he's not allowed to do anything to you,
threaten you, insult you,
in any way.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing what she's afraid of is, well, you're not allowed to do that. Like, how people will treat her, and will they?
They're not allowed to treat her any different, and if they do, they could suffer legal.
Sure, but sometimes
I think what you're saying is just like know your rights. Going, like, and that was the point of this woman's story, because like people don't they don't know that is,
because there are those fears. Yeah.
Right.
What do you have? Do you feel like you have any allies, like this other girl or other coworkers? Do they share your sentiment?
They do, but then I feel like sometimes we're pitted against each other, like we're on Big Brother or something.
Sure.
like as a joke, sometimes I'll come and I'll be like, previously on Survivor.
I mean, it sounds like this guy is deliberate in his action. Like, it sounds like he knows what he's doing to a certain degree in terms of creating this conflict and creating this animosity.
The fact that he called you pathetic for crying is like, that's
I mean, it sounds like it sucks, but
like I just had a baby 8 weeks ago.
Yeah, but I'm saying I think he sounds like he deliberately is creating this conflict to it's like creating cover for himself, If everyone's fighting over here, then I won't be the target of
being called out for my misbehavior.
Yeah. It's a tough challenge, but I think Amy, document as much as you can, and if you ever decide to go to HR, make sure you're coming with all the proof and ammunition that you can possibly ask for. So then you kind of put them in what do you want me to do here? I love this company. I want to be here, but I don't deserve to
feel this way.
It's not okay. Unfortunately for your hit, it's what's really disappointing is your former boss or his now boss's handling of the situation, because now you've come to her, you've addressed it. She didn't handle it, and now she's kind of complicit in this.
Right, she's part of the story.
She's part of the story. She's part of the problem. The fact that she is best friends with her husband makes her kind of an accomplice that way by her negligence. That's a bummer, but that's on her. But just document these things where it's just all you want to do is come to work and do your job and not feel harassed or belittled or threatened or feel awkward or you just want to feel safe and you just want to show up and do your fucking job, and that's what you have a right to do. Document it.
So I've talked to her and stuff too, and I've talked to someone else who knew someone in HR who could kind of keep it confidential. But their suggestion to me was I needed to talk to her again, his new boss, my former boss, and then otherwise HR will just set us all in a room and say, figure it out. And that's
not allowed either.
No, that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah. If it does happen, then document that and then write a blog.
Because of course you're not going to feel comfortable airing your full grievances in front of those people. That's not how it works. They're supposed to pull you in privately. Yeah.
Also, your bosses, it's like bullying.
Right.
Maybe do some research on your rights from an HR standpoint and just the workplace. And like Amy said, know your rights, because now once you know your rights, then you will be better prepared to document what you need to document.
Or if they do say can't you guys just work it out? Let's just meet. You can be well, no, I'm entitled to whatever it is. Yeah. I don't know the exact.
But do some research on just HR rights and what your rights are as an employee to this company. And that knowledge is power, especially going forward. Yeah.
Right. I just didn't want to be, he's been there over a year. I didn't want to be well, you need to give him time. And I've given him time. I don't
think people who harass other people shouldn't be given time to not harass. I mean,
right.
Yes, Nick.
You don't owe them that.
No.
Right.
And chances are people who do that aren't going to learn. He's an adult man who called you pathetic for crying after having a baby. I don't think he's going to have some sort of moment of clarity as an adult to be yeah, that was wrong. He's unfortunately past the point of being a decent guy, short of something bad happening. He's going to have to probably maybe lose his job and have to realize, you know what I'm saying? Like
a moment of,
there's a moment.
You hope for that at least.
You kind of, usually when you're at the point, people have to hit rock bottom to really see through the trees. But that's not, that's,
right. Don't put that. That's
it's not your responsibility. Yeah. It's not your job. You have a right to work in a place where you feel comfortable.
Right.
So, but just do the research, arm yourself with information and evidence, because, it's a difficult process.
Yeah.
And people will try to take advantage of you, and even maybe go so far before you do it as consult with a lawyer, There's nothing wrong with just asking more questions and protecting yourself.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, I'm glad you're on that call, Amy. I felt like, you work in corporate America. You're a reporter.
You work in corporate America?
Well, I mean, you're like but you're...
Yeah. No, but I cover like injustices.
I used to work in corporate America, but like it's nice to get another person's perspective.
I was thinking about like, because it's been, how long has it been since you worked at Salesforce?
4 years.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you would have felt comfortable going to HR for something?
I mean, as a white straight male,
you could.
I know, but I'm just saying I just never been in a position where I've even thought about it. I've never.
Yeah.
I mean,
Must be nice.
No, I recognize.
He's recognizing it.
I recognize that it's. I've been.
But you never thought you'd be like penalized. That would never go through your head for doing.
I never even got to the point where I wondered.
Yeah.
To be honest, when I started doing these calls, and this is not the first time that's something like it's you realize that how challenging and how scary of a process that could be for someone who doesn't feel safe. Because corporate America, especially a lot of companies, it's a good old boys club. And Salesforce, great company, but when I worked there was definitely that mentality. They've gone a long way, and the CEO has even publicly stated they're actively making changes, and I know that they have, and they work to that. But like, kind of started as a good old boys club,
right?
Yeah,
I would hope like that caller would feel empowered, especially in this moment, to do it, since so many women in particular are coming forward talking.
What's interesting about her is she talks about that this isn't a good old boys club. It's like a company that seems to be
female heavy. Yeah.
But yeah. But regardless, HR is a tricky animal to navigate.
But that's all. Like, her story also speaks to the fact that like you think it would be easy to just report something immediately, and it's not. People are still scared of those inner politics.
History has told us that it's not. There's a reason why people tell you HR is not your friend, and don't go and report it, because there's probably more cases of not believing the victim than believing them.
Right. Totally.
And that's a challenge. Amy, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Amy K in LA.
If you are a big Bachelor fan, which many of you are, she's a fun Twitter follow for the show. And also doing great work over at the LA Times, and an author.
An author of Bachelor Nation, which Nick begrudgingly was in.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for listening. Have a great day. Don't forget to send your questions at asknick@castme.com, cast with a K, and we will see you tomorrow. Was this going to be right before the finale? Is this episode right before?
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out what happens tonight, and then tomorrow, make sure to listen to our opinions. I don't know who we'll have.
Oh, I hope you have someone good.
Probably good.
Nick and I are the only two Pete stans still existing in America.
Before we go.
Yeah.
Nothing irritates me more than the Mike wouldn't have done this, or it should have been Tyler C.
The pictures, the memes, I know. Why does that annoy you?
Because it's not true. And this is nothing against Tyler or Mike. I've met Tyler, great guy. I haven't met Mike, seems fine. At the same time, Mike is on the Blake tour of like club appearances and DJ Vinny Vincent, which is a nice guy too. But I'm just saying,
DJ Vinny Vincent.
Mike's just a guy who's loving the attention, and there's a reason why he wasn't the Bachelor. And being the Bachelor,
it's not even about them specifically, though. It's like
it's a really hard job.
Whoever it is gets shit. I mean, no one knows that more than you.
Yes, and especially you are for all the teasing we've done with the women, I'm sure they're all fine women, but the collective group hasn't been super appealing, and that wasn't going to change regardless of the Bachelor. And how Mike or Tyler would have handled these situations, I doubt very much they would have handled it in a way that America would have been like, you know what, that's how I would have done it. It was always going to be drama riddled, and it's like. Nothing irritates me more.
Something to keep in mind is they've just announced the new Bachelorette.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much again for coming. It's been a lot of fun, and come back anytime.
Great.
Thanks for listening, guys.